Africa is being reorganized. Here is the evidence. Now, I'm going to cover the 7 ways that Africa is being reorganized, and you want to listen to them because here they are. Number 1, diplomatic priorities are shifting. Number 2, infrastructure is expanding much faster than people even realize. Number 3, global capital is moving. Number 4, the competition for influence is intensifying. Number 5, mobility is becoming a strategic advantage. Okay. Number 6, demographics are going to shape the next 30 years. And last, the final point that we're going to cover is optionality is going to matter much more than predictions.
You want to stick around, so make sure you like the video, leave your comments below, because this is the ultimate guide that you will need in 2026 and beyond, because things are changing super fast.
If you did not know, let me be the first to tell you the US passport is not as powerful as it used to be. In fact, the United States of America's passport is sitting at a measly number 10 when it used to be number 1 back in 2014. Now, that's a rapid deceleration in passport power, but that's not it. Remember, 30 US embassies across the continent of Africa announced that they are closing their consular services and not allowing Africans in those 30 countries to go to America. This is where diplomatic priorities start to shift because embassy consolidations, regional diplomatic hubs closing, and leaner government footprints tell you that the American budget is no longer what it used to be. But this also represents the fact that there's a gap in the market and it leaves room for the continent of Africa to rise as a whole. These things signal a reallocation of funds, reallocation of personnel, and strategic attention being placed back where it has always been from the very beginning.
From the beginning, you have to realize what's happening. I know we recently did a video the other day about Burkina Faso moving away from France, not having diplomats, um, the diplomat people that is from France and Burkina Faso. So we can see a big shift that's happening. And when it comes down to the U.S. consulates and 30 consulates closing on the African continent, this is very important because we had someone that we bumped into, and this is a client of ours. They were very happy to see us, and they went to a phone store to get like their phone number and everything and their residency good, and they actually left their passport in a phone store. So they're telling us, man, I'm so glad that we saw the video that you did about the consulates closing, but I'm glad that we are in a country that has a U.S. consulate, because if we did not, just a couple of weeks ago, we were in a country that was dismissing the U.S. consulate, the U.S. embassy. And if this happened in that country, it really makes me think about how would I get my passport renewed if I lost it. So these are the things that people really have to think about when you are thinking or when you are moving abroad.
Get this, infrastructure is expanding faster than most of us even realize because many African countries are investing heavily in roads, ports, fiber networks, airports, and their digital service suite. So here's a few examples: new ports, Port Louis, Mauritius, Mombasa, Kenya, Tanga, Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. All of these are port access cities, logistic corridors. I mean, the Swahili Coast, the East African corridor, is one of my favorite logistic corridors because it gives you access to the Middle East, to Asia, to Australia, to India, to China, to everybody in the world. I mean, does America have access like that to all of these nations? It doesn't. It's sort of like a remote continent on the other side of the world that does not have access to those ancient ties. And then we also have to consider the fintech growth and internet expansion. Going to a country in Africa that has great fiber networks and great internet is going to be key to your retirement and your investment abroad because if you're a service provider, you know you are going to need that internet. Now, get this, Africa's population currently exceeds 1.5 billion with a B, making it the world's youngest continent Internet adoption continues to rise rapidly, supporting digital entrepreneurship. And these young people are going to need to understand services, how to bring their products to market, how to trade with other Africans, how to trade with China, how to trade with the Middle East, how to trade in general, which also gives you an advantage if you're an American or Canadian watching this, who's a teacher, who's a business owner, a service provider. You're going to be able to train the next generation. And that's one of my favorite things about the continent, especially as a mother of six. Now, lastly, the African Free Trade Agreement, especially the area throughout the continent, all 54 countries are proposed for the African Free Trade Agreement. It's going to create one of the world's largest free trade zones by participating countries. Now, don't get discouraged. It may look like borders are still up, but just wait 5 to 10 years. Africa is going to be trading freely across the entirety of this very large continent.
Infrastructure is very, very important. This is key when it comes to moving to Africa. Just like the video that we did the other day with Tanzania, you got to realize if the infrastructure is not up to date, you will be in the dark. So you just always want to step in the light. You always want to go somewhere where the system is clear. The system is very similar to America in a way, and don't take that the wrong way. You have to know what you are doing. You have to know how to move your money around. So when you're talking about trading, when you're talking about being somewhere where it's easy access to ports, right? If you are more inland in the African continent, logistics, that means that you have to focus on logistics and things like that. So you just have to learn systems. This is why, just like my wife was just saying about trading, and since we're talking about trading, check the links in the description, guys. I just created a written crash course when it comes down to investing and trading. So, knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. Check the links in the description. But trading is something that you really need to pay attention to in the next 5 to 10 years. I believe it's just going back to the ancient ways. If you do your research, if you know history, you will know that East Africa was one of the most powerful trading hubs in the world. This side of the world, when it comes to India, when it comes to Asia, when it comes to East Africa, South Africa, Southern Africa, this is going to be a powerful hub.
Global capital is moving faster than ever before. I mean, I live in Mauritius, Africa, and let me tell you something. Uber was not here when I originally came here, but now Uber, the American driving company, is here in Mauritius, Africa. Obviously, we know Airbnb is across the entire continent of Africa and the world. And so, guess what? As an American, one of your assets and your advantages is that you can export your skills, your business, your investments to the continent, and you may be able to get residency for it. I mean, I'm here in Mauritius. They have a 10-year self-employed entrepreneur residency that you can get if you are already generating revenue in your business. You have everything incorporated. But that's not it, because investment increasingly follows certain demographics. Here they are: manufacturing, logistics, renewable energy, technology, tourism, and of course, critical minerals. Now think data. These are investments that are going to be important for those critical minerals, for the semiconductor supply chain. Battery materials are increasingly important because what? AI data centers. Drop a comment and say AI data centers down below if you know what I'm talking about, with them draining all of the water, draining the electricity out of America. And then, of course, that's your renewable energy that's going to come into play. Having solar panel houses, having solar panels on everything that you have so you can generate your own electricity instead of relying on the government. See, these sectors have seen significant growth and international investment throughout the past few years. Number four, the competition for influence is quickly intensifying. Okay. Now, this is not a conflict. This is about increasing engagement through trade, infrastructure, diplomacy, and security partnerships. Now, when you hear security partnerships, you should be thinking Russia, China, Turkey, Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, India. European nations, and even the United States, because everybody wants a piece of the continent. I mean, everybody wants a piece of our motherland, which is exactly why people like you and I should be returning to it in the first place. But it also represents a level of demand. I know when you're thinking about economics, when you're thinking about investment and business, you always want to generate demand for your business. Well, Africa has that demand and they did not have to generate it. The demand exists because this is a continent that everybody needs at the end of the days. Why? If you don't have a steady supply of water like they don't in the Middle East, if you don't have a steady supply of food like they don't in the United States, if you don't have a steady supply of animals, of people, even, my goodness, geez. These nations are running out of human beings. Africa's the continent that has humans, agriculture, oil, minerals, gold, tanzanite, all the things that you could need are centered right here on my favorite continent of all. And each country that I mentioned has expanded partnerships across different regions of Africa for economic and strategic reasons. You should do the same.
All the resources is here. So I like how my wife was just talking about solar panels, and things like that, renewable energy, right? Now you have to think about, that solar panel. It's not just about the company that sells the solar panels, it's about the company that sells the ingredients, or I guess, the equipment to make the solar panels. And that breaks down to the continent of Africa, the minerals, the materials. So why wouldn't you want to be somewhere where they ships things out like that? So if you are a entrepreneur, if you are in logistics, these are these are the details that you have to think about. These are the companies, these are the resources that you probably need to get into so you can grow with Africa, with the continent. Like, really, it really gets deep. That's why we always say you have to have a strategy, you have to be diligent, you got to have wisdom, you got to listen to what my wife just said about solar panels, but at the same time, listen to more of the details that make solar panels. What is the ingredients to make the solar panel, to make the solar lights? Like I said, I'm looking at our solar lights right here, and sometimes if our, just say at night, our power goes out, for a couple minutes, because here in Mauritius it's great. The electricity, the infrastructure is good, and the power goes out maybe 5, 10 minutes and comes back on. But when it's nighttime and the power does go out, we see darkness, or everyone sees darkness. We see light because we have solar lights on the outside of our fence. So it just lights up. So that's something to really consider, getting when you are doing business, when you are thinking about moving to the continent here.
Number five matters so much more than you are even aware. Hit the like button, share this video with 10 to 15 people because mobility is going to become your strategic advantage, okay? Again, what happens when your passport expires? What if the nearest embassy is hundreds of miles away? What if appointments begin to take longer? What documents are required for regional processing? Preparation becomes a part of your mobility plan, and Southeastern Africa is where it's at when we think about that infrastructure. Now, on the west side of the continent, Ghana and Senegal remain top tier for you as an American to get an advantage, to be able to have the right infrastructure, especially if you're already married, you're a family, you're a retiree, so you don't have access to being married to an African. You need to rely on a few Western systems to be able to integrate and move throughout the continent. Now, number six is wild as well because demographics will shape the next 30 years here in Africa. Again, we have the youngest population here on the continent. By contrast, Europe is aging, it's a shrinking workforce. Africa has an expanding workforce that's getting more talented, more educated. I mean, we've hired people from South Africa, Kenya, soon to be Mauritius, into our businesses. And I mean, it's phenomenal. You get the time to teach, you get the time to show your standard operating procedures, and it really gives you the mission statement, the value statement that you need for your own Africa geomobility strategy so that you feel that you're making an impact because knowledge is power, education is key, and education is the way out of poverty. That's something my dad would always say. Now, Africa also has expanding cities. Think of Abuja, Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, Port Louis, Mauritius, Johannesburg, South Africa, Cape Town, Pretoria. All of these areas, Nairobi, Kenya, definitely can't forget Nairobi or even Accra, Ghana. These are some of the top cities of influence on the continent of Africa today. And so, access to these strategic hubs is going to generate you both revenue, happiness, peace, and stability in the long run. And remember, by 2050, roughly 1 in 4 people across the entire globe are going to be Africans. And this is a projection reported by the United Nations. Okay.
Knowing how to move around the African continent is very key. This is probably one of the most things that people sleep on. If you go to a country or a city where it's not a lot of growth, you're probably going to be wasting your time. So you have to know the times to go. You have to know um, how the city is growing. Like we said at the beginning of the video, go somewhere where there's going to be ports, where they're going to be trading. So mobility is key. That is nothing to play with. That's because you will waste a lot of money and a lot of time. I'm telling you, go to a place like, say, where it's one of the best countries to do business on the continent of Africa. You get what I'm saying? Go somewhere like my wife was just saying, no, Nairobi, Kenya. We see there's an influx of people going there to do business, to open what their skills and talents, to build, to build apartments, to do things like that, to have a construction company to build roads and help them help the government build the roads and things like that. So mobility is very, very key. So make sure you like the video, stick around because we have one more point to make.
At the end of the day, optionality matters much more than predictions. We know certain things are happening across the world, but we're not sure exactly what 2030 and 2040 are going to look like. But what we do know is that Africa is going to provide you the optionality that you need. Diversification, investment in different areas, growing your business on the best continent to do business. Because remember, I don't know if y'all are aware, listen, the GDP of the world was about 3%, but the GDP, the gross domestic product for the continent of Africa, was 4%. Africa outpaced the rest of the world, mostly because it's still developing. But if you come to Africa and you're from the West, you basically get to go back in time and build the infrastructure that's going to be needed for the tomorrow's Africa. Now, I don't know about you, but that's leverage. That's exactly why my family and I have been here for 6 years and will continue to stay here indefinitely. The strongest families are not going to predict the future. You're going to prepare for several futures. This is why your residency matters, your documentation, your mobility, and why paying attention to subtle geopolitical shifts matters more than anyone can let you know. Now, I'm going to leave you with one more statistic to consider. Mobile money adoption in sub Saharan Africa remains the largest global transaction volume and value. All of the resources and revenue are coming right here. I think you should be here. And if you think you should be here, comment down below. I'm coming. See you in the next video.